And I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the City of Delaware Historic Preservation Commission meeting of October 25th, 2017. Could I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Coleman? Mr. Nicely?
Here.
Ms. Riviera?
Here.
Ms. Van Gundy?
Here.
Councilman Rohr? Vice Chairman Hatton? And Chairman Koch.
Here. We received information from both Mr. Coleman and Mr. Hatton and Councilman Rohr that they weren't going to be here. Could I have a motion to excuse those three members of the commission from this meeting?
Move to excuse them.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Nicely?
Yes.
Ms. Riviera?
Yes.
Ms. Van Gundy?
Yes.
Chairman Koch.
Yes. Item 2 on the agenda is approval of the motion summary of the Historic Preservation Commission meeting held on September 27th, 2017, as recorded and transcribed. Have you all had an opportunity to read the motion summary, and are there any corrections or additions? Hearing none, you have a motion to approve the printed motion summary.
So moved.
You have a motion?
Yes.
Second.
We have a second? Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Nicely?
Yes.
Ms. Riviera?
Yes.
Ms. Van Gundy?
Yes.
Chairman Koch.
Yes. Item 3 on the agenda, the regular business, 3A, is application 2017-2427. This is a request by M&J Union LLC for a certificate of appropriateness for a patio extension at Roop Brothers Bar at 17 North Union Street, which is Zone B2 in the Central Business District and located in the transitional sub-district of the Historic District Overlay. Could we have a staff report, please?
Yes, yes, we do. And Mr. Chairman, I wanted to bring up that due to the absences, we still do have a quorum with 4 members, and we would need 3 out of the 4 votes to obtain an approval on the cases. And I believe at time, you could give a straw vote to the applicants to let them know which way the case would be going, and then you would have the option to table the case until the next meeting, if you so chose, and depending on the outcomes. So,
Thank you.
okay, and then with that, we will begin with our first case. And as you have mentioned, this is for a request for a patio extension at Roop's Bar at 17 North Union Street. And that's the location map. Is zoned B2, and it is in the transitional sub-district of our Historic District Overlay. And this is the aerial photo. And this particular building, I did not know the history of this building, so it was really fascinating for me. It was constructed in 1940, just a simple 1-story brick commercial building, and it opened up as Beck's machine shop, and continued at that site until the 70s when it became H.G. Beck and Son machine shop. And we have some photos here. And then we have photos from the county auditor's office showing the building in 1999 and 2004, still retaining its original design. And then in 2008, the Roop Brothers requested to put an addition on the north side of the building. And again, the throughout time here in 2015, the building is retaining that original shape. And in 2015, a request for enclosing the covered patio. Well, the covered patio was there. The request to install picket fence, the metal picket fence, was approved.
Just for the audio record, it's not enclosing it. It's just putting a fence around it.
Right, putting a fence around the perimeter of the covered patio. And since 2014, the bar changed ownership. And the current owners are here this evening. And if you two would like to come up to the table and state your name and addresses.
Attach the electrodes to each wrist.
No problem. I'm Micah Sparks.
Can you give your name and address for the record?
Yeah, Micah Sparks, 2048 Gregory Road, Delaware, 43015.
And I'm Joshua Moore with 289 North Union. Delaware.
Thank you.
Okay, and so the new owners, have been very, very cognizant of the history and reputation, of Rupe's Bar and the former owners, and have maintained, a lot of the, traditions and appearance of the building. What they would like to do, to continue to enhance the ambiance of the building, is to extend the existing concrete patio pad and fence farther east to the edge of the building and create a 14 by 20.5-foot patio area. And this would be on the owner's private property. It would not encroach into the city right of way. And the purpose is to provide a smoking area which is farther away from the entrance to the bar, because with patrons coming in and out and folks standing and smoking, it gets to be a little congested. And so just wanted to extend that area out and provide a small seating area. And they want to take the picket fence design, extend that further to the property line, and install brick columns with lanterns on the top. And then on the north elevation, they are proposing to install I call it a fire feature, which would be also on a brick column and have a cage design that would be on top of that column, for safety purposes. And the proposed lanterns would be operated with natural gas. And there would be a locking key valve to help control the operation of the lanterns and the fire feature. And this would be for safety purposes. And then this is a rendering of the proposed fence and lantern columns for the patio extension. And this is a design that's similar to the existing patio at the old Bag of Nails, just a block or so away. And then the applicant, worked closely with city staff in discussing the various types of materials to include in the patio. And so these are the brick columns, a sample design for the black picket metal fence, the ladder design with the gas lighting mantle examples, and again, the fire feature column with the cage design and the locking key valve. And there are other examples of existing patios on private property, also within a couple of blocks from the project site. And these would be Amato's Pizza and the Plaza at South Sandusky and West William, Bunn's Restaurant, the old Bag and Nails Pub, and the new 14 West William Street building that's being constructed as we speak. And so staff is supportive of the design and the materials that were selected. The owners are open to any other suggestions that HPC might have. And we are recommending approval with the conditions that are noted. Okay. And we also wanted to mention that the owners did have, the forethought to speak with the executive director of the Sarah Moore Assisted Living Facility, which is directly across the street. They wanted to make them aware of the patio expansion. And Sarah Moore's main concern was about any music through speakers or live music on the site, and they came to a written agreement that Roots Bar, would not have those speakers or live music out of respect for Sarah Moore. And so staff is recommending that this agreement stay in effect, as long as the patio is in place. And the other conditions noted about, clear passage being maintained through gate openings, and the project is completed per the plan presented, and should there be any additional changes, that they can be made through administrative approval through discussion with staff and the HPC chairman.
Commission members have any questions for city staff? One thing that I wanted to bring up is if the gentleman should decide that because this brings so much more business in, they want to put tables and chairs out on the patio, would they need to come in for additional approval, or is that just not required in this case?
No, the addition of any additional furniture would also need to obtain administrative approval through HPC.
Okay. Commission members have any questions for the applicant? I think it's a great design. I think it'll be an improvement to that area, and I think it'll bring a little bit more casual livelihood to that part of the street. A little more street traffic, pedestrian-oriented street traffic.
So I think my only comments were, one, I agree, I think particularly the creation of the stone wall with the lanterns and this fire feature. I think aside from its own inherent aesthetics, I think it'll do a really nice job of tying that street a little more closely into the rest of the downtown as well. And I just wanted to commend you both for the effort you took to reach out to Sarah Moore. I thought that was a really thoughtful gesture. It certainly didn't have to be done, but it's something I'd like to recognize anyway.
Still get some of them coming over.
It's part of the citizenship that makes our city nice, right?
Any promises of people tottering across the street for a free drink. you know.
We changed the entrance up, which was approved by Jerry Warner. So we have we took away one of our parking spots, the very end one, and we sloped it real nice, so it's a nice wheelchair ramp into it. It's pavement wheelchairs, so we really like that. And because all that space before was just wasted space, and we have a tight location as it is, so we think we're really excited.
So I do have a question about the fire feature. Is it going to have like a glass or plastic surround to keep people away from the flame?
It's more or less like an iron gate. The one
Okay.
photo really showed a good example of it because we haven't had to build one yet. If you see it
Oh,
top
okay.
right, it's kind of like that.
Yeah, we're gonna have it custom made, but that way people, and it's gonna be about this high, so it'll just look, I think it'll be pretty classy.
If you had a plastic cover over it,
Well,
they couldn't grill shrimp over it.
Sounds like it's s'mores.
And it's going to be regulated as to when we actually burn it because, you can't just leave an open flame burning all the time. So there's going to be certain times that we don't have that in use and things like that. That's the key valve operation,
But I think, when we go to other places, other Dublin and stuff like that, Polaris, it takes to have fire features.
Yeah.
I think we need to, that's what I do for a living, my other job, so we thought we should incorporate that.
It makes some fun out of it with the Olympics coming up.
Yeah, we can do
yeah.
that.
You have running around the block. Okay, what is the pleasure of the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve. So I move that we approve case number 2017-2427, a certificate of appropriateness as explained in this application with the 5 staff recommendations included in the application.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Nicely and a second by Ms. Riviera. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Ms. Revere?
Yes.
Ms. Van Gundy? Yes. Chairman Coe?
Yes. Thank you. It's, I think it'll be a nice addition to that part of the street, and
Good design. Very good.
Thanks, guys, very
Thanks.
much.
Nice.
Appreciate it.
Good night.
okay. Item-
Steps would be for you guys.
Item 3B on the agenda, the regular business, is application 2016-2532. It's a request by 12 West LLC for a certificate of appropriateness for a scope change for the new building located at 14 West William Street, which is Zone B2 in the Central Business District, and is located in the transitional sub-district of the Downtown Historic District overlay. We have a staff report, please.
Yes, yes, we do. And then I'd like to ask the building owner, David DiStefano, to come up to the front for questions.
We know who you are, but could you identify yourself for the audio record, name and address?
David DiStefano, 12 West William Street, Delaware.
Thank you. Do commission members have any questions for city staff?
Actually, yes, Mr. Chairman, I do. I have one clarification I'd like to ask. Because I saw, and I think this might have been the one meeting I actually missed this summer because I was away. Says that there was an administrative change approved on July 28, 2017, which included a establishment of 5-foot side setback, changes to the fence, the approval of a sloped roof, and so on. And I was a little uncertain because it seemed to be that we were actually going to be voting on that tonight as well. So I just wanted to see if I can clarify what the situation is.
Well, that on July 28th, 2017, those changes were approved. Because I believe Mr. DiStefano appeared before HPC, it was in June.
The chronology of the coverage of previous hearings is a little confusing. I also was not totally sure of what it was we were approving tonight.
Yes, Lance Schultz had prepared this report. I was away.
That's no excuse.
And, well, what we are here for this evening. Right, Mr. Stefano was here, appeared before the commission on June the 28th. And that was when these conditions, these 5 that are listed on the front page of the staff report, that is when these changes were discussed and modification. Right, and so modification of the building's original design to the 3D model that Mr. DiStefano has here. And so that was approved in June.
So was that?
Yeah, not just, so that's a typo. My apologies, that's a typo on that front page. That's June 28th. And so after that meeting, the building owner instructed the architect to continue with the construction drawings based on this June 28th meeting. And then upon review of the construction drawings, that was done via administrative approval with the HPC chairman, because at that point we had specific details on the actual design and materials and so forth. And based on that meeting between the HPC chairman, and myself, Jerry Warner, David Upland, the certificate of action number 3 dated August the 16th it specified exactly what the additional changes were and additional conditions, because we had to make notations on the construction drawings to make them conducive to the HPC decisions. Okay, and part of that, review and previous meetings, HPC meetings, concerned the application of hardy plank siding, on all 4 elevations of the building, because the building owner had proposed using a metal siding, at least on one elevation, to help contain the costs. However, HPC, indicated that, the hardy plank type siding should be applied on all 4 elevations, as metal siding is not an approved material under the architectural standards. And then as construction started, the applicant sent a letter to the planning department requesting a scope change and that letter is included in the packet.
Sounds like you've had your adventures with plumbing.
With this project and my current, I've learned more about plumbing than I ever thought I'd know.
Right, and so, Mr. DiStefano, if you would like to summarize your request
Sure.
to the commission.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members. When I was here a couple months back, it was the request of the committee to put hardy plank all the way around. And at that point, I understand, so we fully incorporated into our budget the front, and we tried to do the design as best we could to reflect the West End grill. And but I said I couldn't make any promises to pay depending on the budget. And now that we've broken ground, and we're about 8 weeks in, but we've come across several significant hurdles, one being the plumbing. I didn't realize this when I bought the lot, even when I bought my current restaurant 12 lot, but going back to a little history through the county records, 12 West and 14 West, they were all one giant lot at some point in time, and hit, around the 50s and 60s, it got broken up. So our plumbing goes through 18 West Williams and then out to the main. I don't have direct access to the main. Our plumbing in 12 West goes through Joanne's Barbershop and then through Son of Thurman and then to the main on Sandusky. And we've got about $20,000 since we've opened up that restaurant in bills. Everything from clogs to digging up our women's restroom twice to just constant problems because you've got clay pipes, you've got 3 businesses, one's a restaurant with food grease, one's a barbershop, and the last one's a restaurant. So it's significant challenges. So we're trying to prevent that as much as we can at the 14 West Williams project by what we're going to do, and this is where some of the money is being shifted, is currently right now the plumbing at the 14 West Williams starts in the back, at the north end of the lot, let's say. And it goes underneath the, I'm sorry, I'm pointing the wrong using this, but it'll start in the north end of the lot, and it would go underneath the 18 West Williams Collective Hair Salon and then out to the front. That's the way it was in the past. So I'm going to change that, and now we're going to run the plumbing all the way up to the sidewalk and not go. And I haven't worked out this agreement yet with the owner of 18 West Williams because we just had the jetting done today. We found no problems, and I'll get into that. But the idea would be to run our own plumbing all the way to the sidewalk. Then we have to tear up the sidewalk to connect to what's called a lateral, which, as I tell the plumbers all the time, was Mandarin to me. A lateral is just another pipe that reaches that we have to get to, and that lateral goes to the main line underneath 36. So that's one part of the cost. The second part of the cost is still the great unknown, which very much concerns me. The city requires, if there's any, once they haven't put a camera in there yet, because last month when the city put a camera in, they couldn't work it all the way to the main. So now that I have to pay for the jetting, even though it's not my line yet. It's fine, I get them. That's my project. So I paid for the jetting, which is just putting water through and clearing up the lines. So now, sometime in the next week or two, they're going to put a camera down there again and see if they can reach the main line. If there are any cracks, problems, any repair or maintenance that has to be done on that lateral, I have to pay for it. Even though it's just the luck of the draw. Even though I didn't cause it, the West End did. I don't know if any current use, I have to pay for that before I can start using it. That was a hard lesson to learn.
Where's the location of that lateral out to the main?
It is just about in this area, which would be sort of the east.
So it's going to come out under your sidewalk that runs from front to rear?
Yeah, my sidewalk, the new plumbing line will come all the way down from north to south on this west side of the lot, 14 West Williams. It'll come out to this area here on the sidewalk, and then we'll go angle a little bit west to hook into 18 West Williams lateral that goes, then that lateral is just a word to connect to the main line. I have no access. 12 West has no direct access to the main line. Joanne's Barbershop has no access to the main line. Joanne's, this is the second part of where our money went. Joanne's gas meter is right here in front of I have 2 gas meters on my lot. One is Joanne's, one is mine. I just spent $1,000 to, if you recall, this exposed brick area here, there's a gas pipe out there, and it hung off that wall about maybe a foot off the wall, but it was just about 8 to 9 feet high. And all I could imagine with that patio area there is somebody jumping up and grabbing it and horseplay. And so we spent the $1,000 to move the meters, the 2 gas meters, and also put that pipe so it's flush up against the wall as best we could. So we spent some money there. We spent some money on plumbing. And again, we'll keep our fingers crossed there's no major problems with that lateral that we're going to connect into that connects to the main line, because Perry Mickley has informed me and Jerry has informed me the city requires me to pay for any broken lines.
Probably just because you're the one is wanting to, if it was one of your neighbors that wanted to do the same thing, it would fall on them.
Right.
Probably.
And there was a clog in there, but the neighbors don't have to pay for it. And I know, well, it's because it still worked, but because you're right, I'm coming in and I'm new, I have to pay. All the things I didn't know 3 months ago, but it does explain our plumbing issues for 12 West.
I thought I detected your hair is a little grayer.
I would agree with that. So the change, to get to the point of the change, it would be putting vinyl. We talked about the metal, but vinyl I think it is actually less expensive than metal. Looks more like hardy plank in terms of from a distance. We can paint it whatever color we have out here that HBC would, that we have permitted, but it saves us about $8,000 to $10,000 not doing these 3 sides. And quite frankly, this side, which would be the east wall, faces the back end of the properties on Sandusky Street, which are boarded up windows, power lines, HVAC equipment, things like that. The west wall is this 60 feet in length. It's the final 25 feet that's exposed, if you will, to the alley. And then this faces a building. So that's.
So you're requesting
To put vinyl.
horizontally figured vinyl
Yeah.
siding.
Yeah.
Do you know what space it, what?
I think I
Conditions.
checked with my contractor, and he didn't think there would be any cost difference between 4 and 6. So we would do it to match the hardy plank in the north part or south front of the building.
Does that have any effect on your fire rating on the west side of the
I
building?
don't think so. The fire ring is taken care of by the I call it sheetrock. That's the fire that. So we've had to put, I think, 2-hour fire rating here because we're adjacent, and they've had to, I think they call it mud and spackle. Basically, any sort of cracks of the fire couldn't get through on this wall. This over here was 1 hour. That's why we did that change to save us a significant amount of money. So that's taken care of. I don't believe, I can double check, but I don't believe whether it be the hardy plank or the vinyl would have any impact on the fire rating.
Okay. Welcome to the historic history, Dave. Commission members have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, hi, I have one. I'm wondering if you were talking about vinyl, then if I heard you correctly said, then you would be painting the vinyl siding to match the hardy plank on the south elevation. Do you know?
Or we'll try, I'm sorry, we'll try to get a vinyl siding that matches the color.
Oh.
Sorry.
That'd probably be a better
Yeah,
choice.
that's what I spoke incorrectly. That's what I said, but I was wrong. We'll get a color to match.
Yeah, that was sort of circling my question. I was wondering if you've already looked into whether or not it's possible to get a really close match so that it would be virtually indistinguishable, or where we're at on that.
I will get you those colors for next month. There seem to be plenty of options available. What we've seen so far for vinyl.
I think because he's proposing making the material break at a corner, the lighting will be different and you won't notice it.
So a lot of this would be in shadows from the parts of the day.
Yeah.
So you
And
would pick the siding color first because you paint the hardy plank.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever color, we're completely open to what the HPC would like for the front. I quite honestly, I forget the color we've chosen for the front,
Yeah,
but we'll
gray.
base the vinyl off of that color.
Thanks.
I do have a question
Mhm.
regarding the back. I know nobody really sees it, but that city parking lot right there, it's used obviously a lot. And you remember the Beehive bookstore, the mural in the back there? I think that's a great
yes.
charm. No? I think, that brings some life back there. I mean, putting vinyl up, you kind of lose that capability of doing something like that.
We don't have any plans to do something like that. Our margins are so thin in this business that,
Yeah.
we try to, and we'd love to, but it's just, and that is one of the unique features in the alleys, that there's also a lot of downside to the alley.
Mhm.
I mean, we're here because it was an empty lot initially. The West End Grill was so dilapidated it fell. And so, we wish we could do more than what we can, but we're also putting about $500,000 into this.
I hope it ends up being more than worth it to you.
I hope so too. And we've been very pleased. We appreciate the working with the committee and to Diane and Lane. And, but just never know. It's
So
scary.
the only changes we're being asked to ratify is the change from hardy plank on the west, north, and east walls.
Yes, sir.
From hardy plank to vinyl siding, which will match the front siding on the front of the building as closely as possible.
Yes, sir.
That's it?
That's it.
Um,
Unless you have money for a lotto, I can build out to the main line.
We can pass the hat up here.
No, that's it,
Start
Mr. Chairman.
digging.
I'm no lover of vinyl siding, but Mr. DeStefano has spent a lot of money on this, and he is talking about the rear of the building and sides that really don't have a lot of visibility from the street. I don't think I have an objection to this.
Yeah, perfect is the good in this case, for sure.
Anybody any more questions? Anybody want to take a stab at a motion?
You might want to do a straw poll to make sure.
Okay. How does everybody feel about this before we vote? I don't really have, I think because it's the rear of the building and the sides on an alley, and I really like the fact that there's a building going in here which will produce traffic and income and another place for people to go. I think it's a reasonable trade-off.
I agree.
How do you feel?
I feel fine about it. I just think in the long run, if you ever wanted to do something, obviously you have to bring it back to the HPC, but I just think that, it is what it is. I mean, it's something instead of a big dirt pile. But in the long run, I think something more creative back there would be pretty.
Could be, yes.
Just not a back of the building. Everyone goes back there, but I'm fine.
Somebody want to propose a motion?
Sure, I can do that. I've sketched it out here. So I would move to approve HPC request 2016-2532, which is the request for a certificate of appropriateness for a scope change for the new building located at 14 West William Street. That would be an approval to permit vinyl horizontal siding to be placed on the west, north, and east elevations of the building to match as closely as possible in size and color. The siding that's going to be placed on the south elevation of the same building.
I'll second that.
We have a motion from Mr. Nicely, a second from Ms. Riviera. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Nicely?
Yes.
Ms. Riviera?
Yes.
Ms. Van Gundy?
Yes.
Chairman Coe?
Yes. Dave, thanks for
Thank you.
building on it's always difficult to build a new building on an existing lot in a historic district.
Yes.
I hope we haven't been any more obstruction than necessary, but I think that the efforts of this commission have made a significant contribution to the point where you're building a new building in this neighborhood.
Yes.
20 years ago, you wouldn't have made that decision.
Yeah.
Or somebody in your position wouldn't have. So I think that what this commission does is crucial to maintaining the viability of the downtown.
I agree.
Good luck with the lateral.
Well, yeah. Good luck.
Thank
with
you
the
very
plan.
much. Thank you.
Okay, item 4 on the agenda is staff comments. Are there any staff comments?
Yes, sir. Included in our packet is a letter from City Manager Tom Homan, addressed to HPC Chairman. Dear Chairman Koch and Commission members, please be advised that application 2017-2403 is hereby withdrawn without prejudice. We are taking this action because we heard and recognized the concern of the Commission and the public. Going forward, we will evaluate all options for uses of this facility. And this is in regard to the application for the demolition of 20 East William Street, which is the city's former engineering building. And so we would like to acknowledge receipt of the letter and the withdrawal of that application, and request that this matter be taken off of the table.
I think the way to handle this is for somebody to make a motion to take it up, to take it off the table and withdraw it. And then we can discuss any discussion about that then. Somebody want to make a motion?
Okay. All right, I move that we remove application 2017-2403 from further consideration, noting that it was tabled at the previous meeting in September 2017.
A second.
Is that a second?
Mm-hmm.
I have a motion from Mr. Nicely, a second from Ms. Van Gundy. Is there discussion on this?
I hope it's permanent.
Yes.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, we call the roll on this motion.
Mr. Nicely?
Yes.
Ms. Riviera?
Yes.
Ms. Van Gundy?
Yes.
Chairman Coe?
Yes. Thank you. Item 5 on the agenda is commission member comments and discussion. Are there any?
I did see that the Flying Pig Ale House is open.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's on my list to go to next.
It's great.
I'm serious. I think what this commission has done over the last 15 years has been a major contributing factor to the revitalization and the growth we see in our downtown. And I'm pleased that we've been able to do that.
Well, I think now the downtown draws from just not Delaware. It draws from Worthington, Westerville, New Albany. There are people from New Albany that come up here. because of the restaurants.
Every traffic light they put between here and Polaris, more people come this way.
There's a lot of,
I will say every time I'm down there, I often run into somebody that is not from downtown Delaware or not from Delaware. They're shopping, or dining, or recreating in some form, so it is nice to see.
When I come home from other locations in the evening, could be a Tuesday or a Thursday, there's always people downtown, there's people eating, there's people out on the patios. I think we should be pretty pleased with the results. Hasn't always been smooth getting there, but I think we've been a critical element. If there's no other comments, note that our next regular meeting would be on November 29th, 2017, as long as there's any applications.
One question before we continue, just wanting to verify when Thanksgiving holiday is. It is the week before, okay.
23rd.
It's always the fourth Thursday, right?
It's usually on
The
Thanksgiving.
23rd.
Yeah. Thanksgiving. Okay.
just to note, I will be out of town on November 29th. I'll not be. There's a meeting.
No.
So sorry.
Wait, we haven't.
Would somebody make a motion, please?
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
We're adjourned.
Thanks, city
everybody.
staff.
Thanks for
Hey, I need to hear.